Hey everyone, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina and I make videos about living in this tiny house on wheels and living a more intentional life. Okay, so a little while ago, Bluetti reached out to me and asked me if they could send me one of their fridge power units. This is one of their latest releases, and it is a battery that is specifically designed to run your fridge or freezer in a power outage and other things. And I said, sure, why not? If you've been around the channel for a while, you know I love Bluetti power stations because where I live here in the country, whenever there's a big storm, windstorm in particular, we lose power. It's very common. The infrastructure is old. A branch will hit a power line and we'll lose power, and I work from home. So I like having those battery backups. So I said, sure. Absolutely, send me one. And they did. What I didn't realize that they were going to do is send me not only the fridge power unit, but also the blue cell expansion battery. So I have both of them. And I've been testing them out for the last few weeks. And today I thought I would give you my unbiased opinion. Well, because while they sent me these, they did not tell me what to say. And I'm going to give you my very untechie but real world opinion about what I think about the new Bluetti Fridge Power Unit. They also sent me this magnetic display unit that you put on your fridge or wherever you want, actually. And it's to give you sort of the information on the batteries, because the display on this is very, very basic. It's just got an on and off switch on each of these, and the lights just tell you the charge. Now, what did I do with my notes? Because I made some notes. Because again, I'm not techie. So I'm going to give you the specs on this before I talk about the batteries themselves, because, you know, for those of you who want to know. So the main fridge power unit is a 2016 watt-hour capacity battery with an 1800 watt output, which means it can take up to 1800. It can output up to 1800 watts. There's a LiFePO 4 lithium battery in each of these, which means that it will have a much longer lifespan of full life cycles. It weighs 43.5 pounds-ish, just around 43.5 pounds. Dimension-wise, they're about 3 inches thick, about 14 inches wide, and 23 inches long-ish. My first impression when I saw the fridge power units was, obviously, they're a very different shape and size than a regular battery bank that we see from Bluetti, EcoFlow, any of the battery companies, Jackery. They're obviously thin and long, and will obviously fit in some very different spaces. They're designed to sit either on top of your fridge or mounted behind the fridge or your freezer. That's why they're shaped like this. I don't have enough room above my fridge to fit even a 3-inch battery. So when I tested it out, I had to have it sitting on the ground. But most people will have a standard size house, a standard size fridge, and they'll have enough room to set 1 or even 2 of these on top of their fridge, depending on your size of your fridge. So there's that. So I gave this a test. I tested it out running my fridge. I never actually connected this to it when I was doing my tests because I literally don't have the room. If I was in a multi-day power outage, obviously I would pull this out and I would find a way to make it fit. But for my testing purposes, I never actually tested it with the blue cell. I just tested it with the main fridge power battery. And I am going to put the footage for that test in now. It is 3 p.m. on day 2. let's just see. Don't look at my messy place. Let's just see. There's still 9% left on the fridge power battery. Lights are still on. So we know it can power the fridge for 2 days and get to 9%. I was wondering if it would make it a full 48 hours, but it did. So the next test was to see if this would charge using the alternator in the RAV. I have the Charger 1 unit in there that is connected to my battery, and so I can charge my battery banks with the alternator when I'm running the car, when I'm driving around or anything like that. So the next test was to take this into the car and see if it would connect. It will connect via some AC4, I think they're called, connectors, just like you would your solar panels, to the Charger 1 unit. And I tested that to see if it would work. You know, if I needed to, could I charge it via the Charger 1 using the alternator in the car? And it worked fine for that. So now that I knew that I had multiple ways to charge it, because obviously I can charge it from the wall, it will charge from solar panels, and now I knew it would charge using the Charger 1 unit in the RAV. So that was good as well, because, you know, in an emergency, you might need to charge it. You might not be able to charge it via solar because there's not enough sun, and you don't obviously have power. So you can't charge it through a wall socket. So can you charge it using the Charger 1? Yeah, it works for that. And if you have these two connected, it will charge both of them. You would have to drive fair ways to charge both of them. But if you were driving a long distance, you could charge both of them. If, you know, this charged a good bit just with my running to and from town. I didn't have it charging when I had my car stopped, obviously. So, you know, if you were taking a little trip, if you were driving to go camping or something like that, you could charge this using the Charger 1 unit, and that would work fine. Then I wanted to see how I could use it real world outside of the house. I was going camping and I have to power my fridge. I have a bodega fridge, a compressor fridge for camping. And so this is where this size of a unit really started to shine, because taking a big battery bank to when you're car camping obviously takes up a lot of room. And it works fine. I've done that in the past, but it takes up a lot of room in a very small space. This, on the other hand, was perfect because I was able to put it down first. I had to put some grip stops so it wouldn't slide around because there's carpet on the back of my RAV. And so I put some grip stop underneath it to keep it from sliding around, then some grip stop on top of it to keep the fridge from sliding around, and then the fridge sat on top of it. Made sure to keep the vents not covered so that it could vent properly, and that's how I used it. Plugged the fridge into the back in the 120 volt socket in the back, and it ran my fridge just fine all weekend. And I think this is one of the areas where this type of a unit, this size of a unit, this unit is really going to shine, is when you're in RVs, when you're camping, that sort of stuff, where you can set it and plug something that you need plugged in all the time into it, and then just forget about it, because there's a ton of power in here and it's going to last a long time. Then I have my bodega cooler, which is a fridge. It's a compressor fridge. I have this here because there's a vent for it down there, and I don't want the mattress to snug up against the vent for the fridge. So this gives me just enough space for the vent right here, and also for the vent on this Bluetti Fridge Power Unit, which they sent me, and I am testing out, and I thought I would use to power the fridge. And it's fantastic because it's so narrow that I can just set the fridge on top. But word of advice, it will slide around quite a bit on this, so just get some of this grip stop stuff that you use for shelves and drawers. And then I've got it underneath here so this doesn't slide, and I've got it underneath the fridge so that doesn't slide. So, like I said before, I work from home, and I keep a Bluetti power bank right under my desk to power my office setup should the power go out. But it's, again, bulky because even though it's not huge, it's still a big box. So I thought, can I use this? How can I fit this in there? Because again, I'm in a tiny house. I don't have a ton of room, even under my desk. Awesome. I had to set it on, stand it up, which meant that the display was on the ground. I just put a cloth underneath it so that, you know, to protect this. But the display is recessed, so you're really not setting you're not resting anything on the display, just the casing. And I was able to stand it up. So here's the use that I'm going to be putting this thing to most of the time. I will take it camping, but in general, this is how I'm going to use it. Sorry for the bad lighting, but this is how I'm going to use it. I had this unit here, which is the Elite 200, sitting here to power my desk situation if the power goes out. But it's bulky, and you know, I'm constantly kicking it. This, I think, is actually the perfect situation. So I'm using the Bluetti Fridge Power to actually be an uninterruptible power source for my office setup. I have everything that I need for my office plugged into this power bar that's got a surge protector, and that is plugged into the Bluetti. The Bluetti is plugged into the shore power, wall power. And it just sits there. And if a power outage happens, which is likely today, given that it's super windy, it will switch over in a fraction of a second. I'm not sure exactly how fast, but fast enough that it won't actually interrupt anything. My computer's not going to go off. I won't lose connection or anything like that. It's just going to automatically switch over. And in the meantime, it will just stay topped up this whole time. It's a perfect setup for an office space. Having something like this that's plugged in all the time, because these are meant to stay plugged in all the time, not just when you're using them. That's why they're used for fridges, freezers, medical equipment, that sort of thing. You can keep it plugged into the grid so it stays fully charged, and then plug your devices or your fridge or freezer into it. So, final thoughts. What are the pros and cons in my mind of the Fridge Power, the Bluetti Fridge Power Unit? We'll start with the cons. Number one, this sucker is heavy. It's 43.5 pounds. Yeah, just over around 43.5 pounds. And it's, for somebody my size, that's a lot of weight to carry in kind of an awkward space. The thing about the other Bluetti battery banks is that they're boxes and they have handles on each side. So you're able to sort of lift it and carry it around more. And so even though the 200 is heavier than this, I actually found it easier to lift than this. It comes with these handles, these sort of vinyl handles that you can screw on to carry it. These seem wholly insufficient for the weight of these units. I am definitely worried that at some point one of these ends is going to let go and that sucker is going to fall on my foot. So I'm always carrying it sort of over to the side, and I don't trust those handles to carry this for any distance or length of time. I think they'll stretch out. I think that eventually these are going to break. These handles should be, I think, metal. But it does come with the screws and the screw holes to mount the handles. Comes with the handles, so you can manipulate it that way. Secondly, the Fridge Power Unit itself comes with two 120 plugs for you to plug things into. It comes with the input for the solar, but it comes with no other ports. So no USB-C ports, and I don't understand why. Ironically, the Blue Cell expansion battery does have one USB-C port on it. So I don't know, was that an afterthought? I suspect that in later versions of this, that the main unit will come with at least one USB-C port, because in this day and age, why not? Doesn't make any sense to me. So that was it. You can't charge the expansion battery unless it's connected to the main fridge power unit. And I don't understand that, because if you are using it, there's a power outage and you've got it plugged into one expansion battery, but you have more than one expansion battery, it would be great to be able to take that expansion battery outside, plug it into solar and charge it. But you can't plug it into solar to charge it. You can't plug it into a wall socket to charge it. You can't plug it in anywhere to charge it. So you have to move both units outside to charge via solar. You cannot charge the expansion battery on its own. Again, I think that is definitely short-sighted. I don't understand why. Be better to put a USB plug here and put the input for solar here. So that seems kind of silly. And to be honest with you, they're expensive, right? What are these things? What do they cost? Right now, they're on the website, the Bluetti website, for 20% off. And you can get another 5% off if you use the code Adelina5 when you're checking out. And I'll put all that information down below in the show notes. But right now they're having what they're calling early Prime Day sale. And the unit, which is regular on sale for $1,499, is on sale for $1,199. So instead of $1,500, it's $1,200. And if you buy the two together, on the website for $2,749, and with their sale right now, they're on sale for $2,298, and you can get an extra 5% off on both of those prices, those sale prices, with that code. So they're not cheap. If you live in an area where power goes out on a regular basis, and you're worried that it'll go out and you won't be home and your fridge or your freezer won't have any power, then something like this may be worth the investment for you. If you depend on a medical device that requires electricity and you cannot have that go down if there's a power outage, having something like this might be worth the investment. Bluetti has other battery banks of other sizes that are maybe not as powerful, but still will be sufficient for the occasional outage for short periods of time, that are more affordable. So this isn't something that I think everybody would want. Bluetti has a lot of other sizes and types of battery banks that might be more affordable for what you need. So is this for everybody? No, it's an investment. Let me just say that. For me, would I have bought this with my own money? I don't know. I'm not sure, because I have other battery banks that, yes, are more bulky, but I can wheel one of those out and plug my fridge into it. Yeah, walk around it, and it'll be more awkward to sort of have there, but it would work. I could have, I already used to have one of those under my office, my desk, and it worked. However, now that I have it, I'm telling you, taking it camping, yeah, it's heavy to get out there and sort of manhandle around, woman handle around, person handle around in the RAV to get it set up. But once it's set up, it was so nice. Having it under my desk as a UPS power source is so nice that now that I have it, I see the value in it. So, you know, most of us don't get to try these things out before we decide if we want to pay the price. So you need to make up that decision yourself. But Bluetti certainly has other power stations, less powerful ones that would work with just the main fridge power unit. It powered my fridge freezer for 2 days, almost exactly. Add the expansion battery, we've got 4 days, right? And you can plug in, you know, additional expansion batteries. So Okay, so those were the cons. The pros, the size. I mean, 3 inches thick, you can slide that anywhere. You can slide it under your sofa, you can slide it behind your sofa, obviously on top of your fridge if you have a regular fridge, behind your fridge, behind your freezer. You know, if it's in a bedroom because somebody's got a medical device, you can slide it, like I say, under the bed. The size is something that I think is going to change the industry. This is going to be the wave of the future. I think more and more battery banks are going to come in these more flat pack sizes because they're just so much easier to store. The uninterruptible power supply is obviously a fantastic feature, right? We want that. When we need our devices to work and we live in an area where power can go out, it's nice to know that it's always topped up and it'll switch over automatically. I will also say that and maybe this is a pro and a con as well. The fact that this is just a display that shows you whether it's on and how much, you know, the battery life is. It doesn't give you any other features, not like a regular display on a Bluetti battery. And that's where this additional display comes in, because it does give you all of that information. However, you can't do anything on this. It's not touch screen or anything like that other than to turn it on or off. So you do need to use the Bluetti app to sort of see what's happening. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty intuitive. It lets you know how much power is going out, how much power is coming in. It lets you know the status of your battery. So for me, that's a win. But you will need to use the app to do it, and it connects through Bluetooth to this. I'm not very techie, and I can use the app. So one word of advice, when you have it plugged in to something, take it off eco mode. Because when I first tested it for the fridge, it was on eco mode by default. And if the fridge hadn't run for a while, because it's a compressor fridge, it doesn't run all the time. And so it's off, the compressor's off for long periods of time. It did twice actually turn off the unit. So it just thought, oh, it's not being used, turned it off. Because it wasn't plugged into the wall. It was just plugged into the fridge. Or the fridge was plugged into it. So you got to take it off eco mode. So once I did that and then redid the test, it was fine. And these displays apparently, because material sourcing right now, are not available. When they are available, I think they're about $45 or something like that. So if you can get one, because then you can just have this on your fridge and you can check the status of your batteries that way. Several reviews that I watched on these, they were frustrated because you couldn't stack them. You had to have them side by side.
To connect the two together, there's a little port here, and you just lift this up, and here are the connectors. This goes into this one, and this one goes into this one. How do I put it in? This way? And now these two are connected. I've heard other people who've reviewed this complain that you can't stack them one on top of the other, but you actually can. It's just that one of the units will be upside down, but it actually works. The cords are long enough to do that. You can't mount them that way on a wall, but if you wanted to stack them somewhere, that would work.
For sure. I don't know if you could stack more than one battery sort of up, but for me, I can stack them. They'll work just fine that way. So they don't have to be side by side. So if I have a prolonged power outage and I want these to run the fridge, I can put them side by side against the wall, or I can put them under my desk, one in front of the other, sort of stacked but upright, and it will work. And they're easy to store when they're not in use, like I said, because they're so small. I can pretty much put them anywhere. Literally slide them under my couch. Wouldn't even have to think about them until I needed them. You know, the expansion one. This one's going to stay under my desk unless I'm camping. So that's my review, my non-techie review of the Bluetti Fridge Power Unit. And my final thought is, I think it's a great unit for the people that need something like this. not everybody needs this much power. Not everybody has this much money to invest. But if you are in a place where frequent power outages happen or are happening a lot more regularly, and you have things that you want to make sure are powered up for multiple days, something like this can be very useful. You can use a regular, bigger, boxier power bank, but if you haven't bought something yet, then something like this is going to be about the same price as a substantial power bank that would power your fridge, freezer for multiple days. I think that this type, this shape, this size of power bank is the wave of the future for these. That's just my prediction. And I'm grateful to have it. I'm grateful that they sent it to me for testing. I was hoping I would like it, and I do. But will I be moving it around a lot? No, the only time I will move it is when I take it into the van to go camping. When they asked if I wanted it, I was like, yeah, absolutely. When am I going to say no? Because like I say, we do get fairly regular power outages here. Of course, I'm going to try it out, but these are my absolutely honest, independent thoughts about the unit. I hope this gives you some information to make some decisions going forward. If you're considering buying a battery power station, maybe this is the one for you. Maybe not. Only you can tell. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. I love you, and I'll see you next time.